So in this video, I want to talk about these two, letter L's, or whatever you want to call them. You could call them V's, but they're two pieces of plywood that I've cut, and you could make these out of foam board or even cardboard if you wanted to. But these are made out of thin plywood, and they allow me to look at a subject and frame it up and see what composition I might like. And I can do a long horizontal, I can do a tall vertical, I can do a square, and I can do everything in between. So by holding these up, closing one eye and looking at whatever, a landscape or a person sitting in a chair or whatever it happens to be, it really allows you to see whether you've got a composition or not. And a lot of times people do this when they look through a camera. The only problem with that is that you're limited to how much the camera zooms in or out, and you're always going to do 4:3 ratio or whatever your camera's ratio is in the viewfinder. And so this allows you to really do anything, horizontals, tall, square, whatever you want. And these are kind of big. This is 2 feet long along the long edge, and that's probably about as big as you want to make these. I made these to sort of be the ultimate when you don't mind carrying something around. But if you're walking around a city or whatever, and these are a little cumbersome, you can probably do with some that aren't quite as big, say 1.5 feet long. But these are really helpful. I mean, I would really encourage you to make yourself a pair of these. You can look at a scene and imagine whatever it is, a corner of a building with some vegetation and maybe some steps or whatever it happens to be, and you can look at that and you really don't know whether you have a painting or a composition until you frame it up. And just as an illustration, I want to show you these few images here. And you can see that by looking at the image first, you may not know whether you have something, but the moment we block it out and frame it up, you can sort of see it as a finished painting. And it's really important to close one eye when you do this so you can really see it. But just looking at every one of these scenes here, you can see what an effect it is and how helpful it is to see whether you've got a painting or not. And I have my personal view is there's no real rules of composition. There's things that people say, rule of thirds and rule of odds, and there's all these things. But I feel like you can always find a masterpiece that'll break, whatever rule of composition you can come up with. I can find a beautiful painting that'll violate that rule. So I don't like rules per se, but by having these two L's that you can put together and closing one eye, you can really judge whether you like something or not, which to me is really the ultimate, is if you look at something and you like it, then it's worth painting. And that's really a judgment that everybody makes as an individual. And so having these L's is wonderful. And then the other thing I wanted to say about using these is just, if you do, this is really just a preview. So let's say that you're out and about and you've got a camera and you're taking pictures of various things that you might paint. And if you have these L's, you can frame it up, decide that you like that composition, and say, okay, I want to get that. And then when I take a picture of it, really I just want to zoom back and make sure I get the whole area, everything in the picture, even if I have to take multiple pictures, in order to get everything that I see in my composition. And then when you go home, you're going to put it on your computer and you're going to crop it down further and decide exactly how you like it. So just make sure that whatever you decide you like, as far as taking the picture, that you've got a picture that includes everything. And so that's about it. I hope you'll make some of these. Again, you can make these out of foam board or cardboard, or this is the light plywood. And they're so easy to make and so helpful. Well, thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't been to my art supply site, genevafineart.com, go check that out. And we'll see you guys next time.